Happy holidays, ho ho ho, and all of that. Today is Friday Features, and we're going to be talking about stocking stuffer games. I'm Amanda from Blue Highway Games here in Queen Anne in Seattle, and I am remotely streaming this so I can talk about games at least a little bit each week, which is something I miss doing in store. So thank you for indulging me and tuning in. If you are watching live, I will try to keep an eye on the comments. Otherwise, glad to have a lot of people who have been watching this on YouTube. So thanks for joining us. Me. All right. Stocking stuffers or very small box games was originally what I wanted to do because I live in a tiny apartment and I own lots of board games. It's always nice to find things that are in teeny little itty bitty packages, and then I thought, these are perfect for stockings. So that is why we're doing these this week. They're all games that are fun no matter what time of year, but they do fit into small apartments or stockings. The first game I want to talk about is one many people have heard of. It's been around for years and years and years, and it's called Left, Center, Right, or LCR. And it is a game of rolling those 3 die, and if it says left, center, or right, that tells you what you need to do with the chips that you have in your possession. So if you get an L, you pass them to the left. If you get an R, you pass one to the right. If you get a C, you pass to the center. If you get 2 C's, you put 2 in the middle. The idea is to be the last person with chips in front of you instead of all in the center, eventually where they'll all be. If you are the last person standing, you get to take the pot of chips and claim all of them. Now, many people like to play this with things that are not plastic chips, that have more value, like candy. So maybe you could play with Lifesavers or Skittles. That is what I shall recommend with LCR. It's in stockings, goes well with, I hear it is very popular among like knitting groups for years. I don't know. All right, so that is LCR. It is normally $7.99, I think, and it'll be 20% off until Christmas Eve, December 24th at 5 p.m., which is when we're closing. Moving right along to something that is a little more familiar to this audience, which is some strategic board games. In small boxes, I have Mint Delivery. So this is a little mint tin that the game comes in. It's actually a tin, just like an Altoids tin. And it has cards in it. It has little wooden trucks, your delivery trucks. And it has the mints, which are plain or spearmint or cinnamon mints. And the object of the game is you set up the board with these cards, and you are going to drive your little trucks, move it around. Those are some actions you can take. And you're going to fill up your trucks with some mints, maybe 2 white mints. You have a limit of how many mints you can hold in your truck. You place those mints there, or maybe you're going to exchange 2 mints and turn them into a more valuable mint, such as a spearmint. If you are in the main city center of Meepletopia City, or Minttopia City, sorry, you can exchange them into this precious cinnamon mints. Now, why do you want to do that? Because at each of the different cities and depots, you're going to be able to turn in orders that you've picked up in other cities. So you pick up a card that tells you need to deliver 1 cinnamon mint to Freshness Falls. You would want to drive your little truck to the place where you can fill up it with the white mints. Then you're going to make sure you go to the center to turn those white mints into the red mint. And then you're going to drive all the way over to that city so that you can deliver, what did I say? It was Freshness Falls. Where's Freshness Falls? Freshness Falls. Once your truck is there, you can exchange those mints back to the bank and flip over that card for 3 points at the end of the game. It's a very simple game, very straightforward, easy to learn. You're can play with probably any age group, and you are trying to move, pick up, and deliver. So it's called a pick up and deliver game. And it does have a few variants that you can add on once you've played it and you're like, okay, that's super easy. You can kind of give yourself abilities that you can earn, and they have different, you can have 3 different abilities, and once you've earned them, you can indicate that you're now allowed to do that special action, which will help you pick up and deliver faster. Or you can create obstacles with some of the traffic hazards like roadblocks and roadworks that cause you to slow down on the map of cards. And the last thing, one that I tried out this week, is there's a solo variant. So if anyone's been watching, they know that I am very excited since I'm stuck at home when a game has a solo variant. So this, in fact, it's even the backside of the main map cards, but you set it up differently. It has an AI that is trying to pick up and deliver those mints faster than you are. And they have special place where they're allowed to go that humans aren't allowed to go because they're robots. But yes, there is a ton of content in this little game, but it's very simple. So it's not a ton of complex content. You are really just trying to race to get more and more orders and be more efficient about how you fulfill them so that you can get more points than the other players. Or if you're playing the solo, you can try to beat the AI. So that is Mint Delivery, and it is normally $13.99, but it will be 20% off through December 24th. And again, if anyone has any questions in chat, feel free to ask, and I'll try to keep an eye on it. So that's Mint Delivery. The next one, we're going to take you over to the camera because I'm going to actually play this game a little bit with you, but we're going to do one quick visual round of Yeti in the House. Now this is probably the smallest box of all that we've got, and it comes with, let me show you. I'll switch over. It comes with a mountain, one Yeti, and 2 footprints. And the object of the game is one player or team is going to take, everyone's going to sit around the mountain, the table, and other player's going to take that Yeti and they're going to hide it somewhere within view of that mountain for the whole room, on the other side of the room, walk away from the table, go hide that Yeti, and they're going to take a picture with their smartphone of that Yeti, and then they're going to blur it or make it black and white or kind of do something that disguises where that Yeti is. And I have for you, friends, a picture. So I have hid this Yeti. There he is. So that is the picture that I would bring back, show everybody on my phone, and then the other team would have to then try to find that from where they're sitting around the mountain. You can set a time limit on it or try to make it really fast. And let's see, maybe I'll give you 20 seconds to find the Yeti in the picture based on that clue that I gave you. If you're able to spot it, give yourself a high five or a pat on the back. I should say the person who hit it also is going to hide those 2 footprints, so don't be fooled by those footprints. They are in this picture, although since putting it back up, I can't find that second footprint, and maybe I was too good at hiding it even from myself. I hopefully can put it back in the box later. But that is Yeti in the House, so I hope you found it. It was up high. I also have him hiding in this picture now, more visually connected to this frame. Maybe you can see him. I'm not sure. But that is Yeti in the House. It is normally $12.95 for these little wooden components, and you can make it as easy for younger players or more complex. You could just go hide it somewhere in the house and take a picture of it and have them try to go play hide and seek all over the whole house since you're all stuck in your homes. Anyway, so that is Yeti in the House, a delightful little game from Itten out of Japan. Alright, so now I'm going to move back over here. And, there's the Yeti. If you didn't see him, it's in the top left-hand corner there underneath the game Compounded. Okay, but this is Strawberry Sunset. So this is the one I'm going to talk about a little bit. It's a newer one. It's a little deck of cards. It comes with a morning deck, a noon deck, and a sunset deck. So I guess sunrise, noon, and sunset. And some little cards that are player guides to help you remember what you're trying to do. But ultimately, you will have shuffled each of the 3 decks. Then you're going to put the daytime deck on top of the sunset deck, the sunrise deck on top of the whole deck, and then you're going to start play. So how it works is you're trying to build a garden that is going to have strawberry plants that go from the roots to the flowers to the fruit. And the more of those you have at the end of the game, the more points you get. But you can also populate your garden with some water features and some paths that will give you points. But you don't want a whole lot of gravel. So the way the game works is on your turn, you would take the first 2 cards at the top of the deck here at the beginning. It's my only options. And I would then choose one of these cards to keep. They're fairly equal, actually, because they both have a little bit of gravel. They've got 2 roots and a water feature. So I really like this frog, so I'm going to keep the frog. And then you would discard in a separate sunrise discard the card that you did not want. And then it goes on to the next player, who then has the choice to take the 2 off the top or they can take the one that's visible on this deck. As the game goes on and you have the noon deck and the sunset deck, you'll actually have 3 different discard compost piles, I believe they're called, that you can choose from, which is good because you might need that water feature, or you might need a root, even though you've moved on to the middle, which is the flower part of the deck, or the final sunset is when the strawberries start appearing. So you are going to place the card in front of you when it comes back to you, and you take your next turn, you find a card that you want to take. You're going to kind of be growing. Now there's ways that you can cover up your cards. So maybe I'm like, oh, I don't want that gravel, but I want 2 gravels. If I cover it up with this gravel, I'll effectively be dropping down to having only 1 gravel, which is better than having 2. But you can also cover up half the card, or I believe you can cover the full card, or you can just do quarters of the card. Now you're going to continue to grow, so you'll need a bit of space in front of you as you play, and ultimately at the end of the day, you cannot rotate the card sideways, which is like the hard part. Frankly, it was really hard. So there I'd have roots connected to the flowers, and if this had been a turn, I would be able to have done both, but I'm not that clever. And then we're just jumping ahead, so you can see the end game here. Huh. Well, that's tricky. There we go. That's not ideal because I covered up that water feature, so I'm playing very poorly, but I would have a root, a flower, and a strawberry. So you want to have more and more of those visible on your play area. Everybody's taking turns going around the board. You go through the deck pretty quickly, but you're each going to have your own area in front of you that you're going to score separately. You also get points for your walkways that connect and however long they are. So the longest walkway you have, you get some points for each of its segments. So this would actually be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, and 5 for that fully grown strawberry plant, and then the water feature I think is 3 points, but then you lose the points from some gravel. So it's all just about placement. It's very quick and easy to learn, and it comes in this itty bitty teeny little box for $12.99, and it'll be 20% off until December 24th. So if anyone has any questions about Strawberry Sunset, I'm just gonna actually keep using this camera for the last one I have feature, which is one of my favorite games from the last 10 years or so. I don't remember when it came out, but it is Deep Sea Adventure. So I'm just going to pull out some of those pieces. I'm not going to set up a full game, but I do have a little visual for you. And this is a game that also comes from Japan, but it's from Oink Games. We may have mentioned them on the stream or our staff picks. I know some people had one of those on there before, but they typically come in small boxes. I think they actually, I heard once that they got a agreement with like a perfume box maker, because that's essentially what the size of these are, but they usually pack a ton of stuff in there. So this is just a little bit of what comes in the box. The whole thing is still rather full of most of the components. They're usually a tight squeeze to get the lid back on. But they're all over the place. Party games, and this is a push your luck game. So this is Deep Sea Adventure for, I think it's 2 to 6 players, and you would all going to start in the submarine. The submarine has a limited amount of oxygen in it, and then there are treasure tiles. So when you normally are playing, this is going to be a huge long chain of tiles going from the 1s, the 2s, the 3s, and the 4s. On your turn, you're going to roll a die. You're going to move that number of spaces farther. You're deep diving into the ocean. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you have a choice of what to do when you are done rolling. You can pick up this treasure. You can do nothing. And you can also drop treasure, but you don't know about that yet because there's... Well, here, this is an example of mid-game. I suppose if you land on one of these spaces, that means somebody's already picked up treasure from there, and it's hard to carry treasure underwater. You can choose to actually drop a piece of treasure that you have already picked up. But for now, you roll, you move, and you choose what you want to do. And then the next player goes, they do the same thing, and they roll, and they move. When you come to a person in front of you, you're actually going to skip over them. So a 4 will be 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see how you want to play off the other players that you have around you. Now, once you're out on the chain, before you decide to roll, you have to decide which direction you're going, and you can only head back towards the ship and make that choice one time. So maybe he's like, oh, great, I'm going to go back to the ship. So they would actually rotate their, I don't know if you can see that. These little guys have a direction that they're facing. So once it's facing back towards the ship, you're going to be facing that way. You don't have to make that decision again. You'd roll and you'd continue to move like before. Note, if you start picking up treasure, that's great. Why wouldn't you want to just pick up all the treasure you can? Well, because the treasure that you pick up is going to lower the number that you have rolled. So if I had this one treasure and I was this little dude and I rolled the 2, I would actually only get to move 1 space instead of 2. So it gets harder and harder to move back to the ship. But you say, Amanda, that still sounds really awesome. Well, it kind of is, except as the game goes and people start heading back towards the ship, they're going to start decreasing the amount of oxygen that is remaining in the ship. And it is by the number of treasure that you are holding. So if you're carrying a ton of treasure, you're going to be draining a ton of oxygen. And if you try to go a lot further and these people that stayed close to the ship decide to go back early, you have a long way to travel, no people to jump over to help you with your rolls, and treasure that is decreasing the number on the die that you have rolled. So it is a total push your luck game. You're trying to figure out what others are doing. If more and more people go deep, that's great. You're all going to go deep and you can maybe work off each other to get back, but maybe somebody stays close to the start and returns to the ship and then starts counting down that timer sooner than the rest of you wanted it. So you have to really know the group that you're playing with. You do 3 rounds of this. Things are going to get removed. Each round, of course, people are taking these, so the big long chain of tiles gets smaller and smaller. If you run out of oxygen at the end of the round, you actually drop all your treasure. It goes to the end of the line, and there's going to be little stacks of treasure that have been dropped. And if you can make it all the way to the bottom and pick those up, they're going to be worth even more points. So for the less risky people, they're going to get maybe only 2 points. If you're going for the more risky points, you're going to get a lot more, but it's a lot harder to get, especially in the first or second round. So it's all about timing. It's a great little game for even 2 players, but it definitely works better with more than 2. I would say I've enjoyed it the most with the larger number of players. So that's Deep Sea Adventure from Oink Games. It is normally $22.99, but it will be 20% off until December 24th. And that is it for my tiny little games. If anyone has any questions, let me know. We will be open until December 24th at 5 p.m. So it's closing a little bit early, and then we'll be closed on the 25th and back open normal hours on the 26th. I will not be doing a Friday Features next week because it will be a holiday, so I will be at home, where I already am. So I will be here, but I won't be streaming. And then the following Friday, of course, always a week away from Christmas, is New Year's. So that is also a holiday. I will be taking that as well, and I will be at home, but not streaming. So I will not be doing this again until January, I guess, 7th, that is then, or is that the 8th? I guess it's the 8th. I'm so bad at dates. So I will hopefully see some of you back then. We'll have some more deals for you in the new year, that maybe you have some gift cards from Blue Highway that you can spend. But until then, thank you so very much for continuing to support Blue Highway Games and shopping local, keeping our doors open, and even if I'm remotely employed, I'm very thankful to it. And I do wish I could see all of your faces. So thank you once again for joining us, and hope you all have a happy holidays in however you celebrate.